So I moved on.
Okay, fair.
I went to art school and I did photography.
You did something else.
And then I did films, and then I did this and that, and then I did the Filipino Cultural Center, and then I went back to fashion. Full circle.
But okay, one thing that... Hi everyone, I'm Stacey Lee Kong, and this is Friday Talks, a Friday Things conversation series. And I'm here with my friend Caroline Mangosing, the founder of Vinta. Hi Caroline.
Hi.
Thank you so much for chatting with me.
You're so welcome.
So,
Thanks for coming over.
yes, in Caroline's lovely house. So I'm going to start very, very easy. Tell me what Vinta is.
Vinta is a Filipiniana clothing label. Is that what people say these days? I don't even know.
I think
but,
so.
Yeah, it's a clothing line, and I focus primarily on Filipino cultural clothing.
Okay, and what does that mean? And what does Filipiniana mean?
Filipiniana is basically like anything that's Filipino.
Okay.
Anything from the Philippines. So it's like literary kind of works or artwork. It's called Filipiniana, but commonly most people kind of think of it as the clothing.
Got it. Okay.
Filipiniana clothing, which Stacey is wearing. So this is the signature Filipiniana sleeve. Mm-hmm. It's got the pleats over here, and the difference of it from a puff sleeve is this crease, this hard crease right here. That's what makes it a butterfly Filipiniana sleeve.
Yo, I love these sleeves so much. I can't even tell you.
It's great.
So why are they such a classic element?
It's evolved
Okay.
from like the 1800s. Like they used to be like these pagoda sleeves because it's hot in the Philippines. So they made these sleeves so that it's not touching you.
Right.
And then eventually it just kind of came up structurally.
Yes.
And it still doesn't really touch you for how big and loud they are.
No.
They're not like clinging onto you. So
And
it's
like
that's the idea.
Right. And like this is a light fabric, we will admit, but like it doesn't feel heavy, it feels very light. Mm-hmm. But we were saying before we started filming, I was like, oh, I feel so powerful, I'm taking up so much space.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about how Vinta even came about.
Vinta started because I was running a Filipino Arts and Cultural Center in Kensington Market up until 2015, and I got a lot of calls from the community asking if they have the barongs, which is the men's garment with the embroidery here. Right? And the ternos, which is the sleeves, basically, for the women's garment, for cultural events, not even cultural events, but like mostly weddings.
Right, okay.
Because, you know, like Filipinos here in Toronto are mixing with other cultures and they want to represent their culture for the wedding.
Yeah.
Right? So I was getting a lot of calls, and so I thought maybe it's something that I can do. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did.
But did you have a fashion background?
I actually did.
Okay.
I finished fashion school. Or no, I didn't finish fashion school.
You went to fashion school?
I went to fashion school. I totally didn't finish, but and also my mom, when we were in the Philippines, designed children's clothing, and so I grew up with my mom doing children's clothing manufacturing. And I was a fit model, and I would go to the department stores, sales meetings, and wear the clothes. And then we moved to the States, and then moved to Canada. But I finished it. I went to fashion school right after high school, and then I didn't do pattern making it wasn't very good. So I moved on.
Okay, fair.
I went to art school and I did photography.
You did something else.
And then I did films, and then I did this and that, and then I did the Filipino Cultural Center, and then I went back to fashion. Full circle.
But okay, one thing that I remember when we first met was that you talked about not necessarily wanting to be in fashion unless there was a personal meaning too, right?
Yeah, I think that I didn't know that at the time.
Right.
I did photography, and then I did fashion photography, and I was in New York, and I was in the scene, right? Fashion.
Mm-hmm. I know it.
In the 90s in New York, and it was cutthroat and gross and very misogynist industry, and it wasn't very friendly to chubby little brown girls in New York City.
Yeah.
Who wanted to be in photography.
Yeah.
Like all the photographers are men, and if you're not a model, who are you? You are nobody.
Right.
Right? Designers were all men too, most
Yeah.
of them. So I was like, I don't like this at all. I did not like it at all. So what I ended up doing was I was volunteering in Prospect Point, like
Okay.
doing black and white photography for inner city youth.
It's really cool.
And then I ended up doing my own photography course for Kapisanan, this Filipino cultural center.
Right.
And then I took over the cultural center. So then I started doing...
Of course you did.
I know. And then, so yeah, I was just kind of doing youth arts.
Right.
And then I found that so much more meaningful.
Yeah.
And then a door opened for me to go back into fashion in such a different way.
And in a way that's so meaningful, because like the idea that so many of the people who initially reached out to you were people who wanted to like get in touch with their culture and like keep hold of their culture even as they were mixing with other people. Like I think that's very cool and very Toronto.
Mm-hmm. It's very Toronto.
Yeah.
And then we realized that it's not just Toronto, because then, you know, even Kapisanan as a organization doing diasporic kind of Filipino cultural stuff,
Yeah.
we got the attention of all the Filipinos in California, and they looked to the arts that we did, because arts is funded here compared to the States,
Yeah.
right? So we did, you know, all of these exhibits, and we did like really mixed kind of cultural, very Toronto kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of the Filipino Americans really looked to what we were doing here in Toronto.
Yeah.
And that kind of bled into what I started doing with the clothing.
Right. So then how did Vinta come out of the cultural center and become its own thing?
So in 2015, I was already running it as a social enterprise
Okay.
as part of the center, and we lost a really big chunk of operational funding. So I was like, I can't go back to volunteering. I'm like 40 years old. I can't do it.
No.
So yeah, so then I just said, I'm gonna take Vinta. Y'all do whatever.
Deuces.
Please.
Best of luck
It
to
was
you.
my personal project. I loved it. It was my
Yeah.
pet project in
Right.
the organization. So I was like, it was all my connections in the Philippines. I have a design background.
Right.
Nobody else, no other executive director can really take on
No.
this project, right? So I just took it, and the organization, the board was like, okay, that's fine. So did a little agreement, and then I made it a for-profit incorporated company under my name.
Right.
And I found myself an investor and got going.
And did it.
I did it.
And like are killing it. There's like all of these other clothes that I'm ready to try on, and it's
Yes.
beautiful. But can you tell me a little bit too about how did you maintain some of those social enterprise values? Because I think the cool thing about Vinta is like you talk about sustainability, you talk about paying people fairly. Like it is a for-profit business, but it's not necessarily the way we've seen fashion be a for-profit business.
Yeah, it's definitely not that kind of business.
Yeah.
Just because, yeah, I come from nonprofit, but then the idea of nonprofit is that you're applying for money, right? You're writing these grants justifying every move you make,
Yeah.
which was horrible and difficult. And sometimes you just want that freedom.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're earning it yourself, people are like, do whatever you want.
Right.
And then
That's
people,
yours.
people do whatever the hell they want when they're running for-profit
Yes.
businesses, you
Yes.
know? So for me, it's like there has to be a balance, and I don't want to incorporate as a nonprofit doing fashion,
Yeah.
right? So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was taken care of, and then ultimately I realized as an entrepreneur, my sensibility, I'm not profit driven. I just want to be sustainable.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to pay for everybody, make a living, make cool things,
Yeah.
sell my stuff, live,
Yeah.
right?
But it's
That's
such
it.
but it's such
And
a
it's so
different
radical to
it's like
think that
so
way.
radical.
Yeah.
To just be like, yeah, I want to grow in a exciting way. I want to try new things. I want to experience like personal and creative growth, but I don't necessarily need to aspire to like mogul status. I'm not trying to be that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my empire is like an empire, but it's like I'm not trying to do 200% growth
Right.
year over year.
Right.
even though it's kind of happening, but in a way that it's like, I don't have venture capital. Right. So I'm not like opening up brick and mortars across the country, like that kind of move. And then all of a sudden my valuation is like 18 billion. And it's like, no, it's never going to be like that. I don't care. Because a lot of if you think about those kind of businesses, they're not actually breaking even. Their valuation is so high because of the investment money coming in. And it's like, I don't know if they ever break even.
That's not the business. The business model is not actually about, let me sell a lot of this thing that people want. Like, it's not people-centered. It's like investor-centered, or like, I guess, profit and loss sheet centered, like something like that. But the thing that the reason your growth is so exciting is because it's that people are discovering what you are doing and they love it.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is far more sustainable than who can I convince to give me some monies?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like hope for the best.
Yeah. And then it's like, how does that end?
It never ends well.
They make biopics about those people.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't
What's
end
it called?
well.
We Crashed?
Yeah, something.
Something like that.
Yeah, so many of them. But yeah, that's not what I'm after.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to run a business, live life,
have a good life,
make pretty things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about the biggest wins that you've had so far. Like.
Well, I mean, pragmatically, it's like the profit and loss stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, we are having year-over-year growth.
Yeah.
But the way that we're doing, it's like, I don't know. I don't have venture capital breathing down my neck.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of like, what's happening? It's happening. I don't know.
Something is happening.
Something's happening. We are having to expand. We are having to grow. We are having to make more product.
Yeah.
Because we are selling more.
Yeah.
Every month we're having to sell, more, and we're having to make more to sell more. So it's like, that part is like surprising. Like,
why is that surprising to you?
I was like, it's surprising because I never thought that it would be so successful.
That's wild to me.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
I just thought, okay, well, I thought of it as, I want to wear this.
But that's why it's wild to me. When I went and I'm looking at all of your things, I'm like, I want to wear that. Oh, I also want to wear that. Oh, I also want to wear that. So the connection between how excited I was as someone who's not Filipino, but someone who, likes beautiful things, like, it doesn't surprise me that other people are really excited about what you're doing too, especially when you put in the cultural piece and this is a connection to my history and my people.
Yeah.
That's very, very compelling, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, people want to invest in well-made things. They want to think sustainably. They want things that will last. You're really at the intersection of a lot of things.
Yeah. And, when we were starting out doing it, I was making dresses one at a time, per orders, right? It's like made to measure, one at a time. Right. And it was already, in its first year, we made $15,000 for the nonprofit organization.
Right.
One little dress at a time. So
right.
I was like, there's something to this. People are buying it.
I have an idea.
And they're waiting for it.
Yes.
They're waiting 6 weeks.
Right.
For the dress to arrive. Right? So I was like, people are waiting for it.
Yeah.
I think that there's something to this. Also, there's no Filipiniana boutique anywhere.
Yeah. They have to wait for it.
They have to wait for it. And also I've upgraded I've modernized the styles.
Right.
Made them more contemporary.
Yes.
Some of them were looking a little bit frumpy and
that's not, you don't
old
do frump.
style. Yeah. So we just made it more modern so you can fit into your wardrobe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
you don't have to wear this to a wedding. You could literally wear this anywhere.
Yeah, you can wear it to work.
I'm going to. Tell me about how your customer base has shifted though, because one of the interesting things that you said, in the setup as we were kind of chatting, was about sizing and how that has changed.
Oh, so when we started, it was I'm a very average Filipino woman size, 5'1", 2.
You can round up. You can round up to 5'2" if you want to.
5'2", whatever. And so I'm the fit model.
Yeah.
of course, and I'm the one at the atelier when we were developing the
Yeah.
product, so it's like it had to be me. So we did that, and then at first it was like all the people in my network here in Toronto, which are very average Filipino women, 5'2" types.
Yeah.
So then a lot of the extra smalls were getting sold, and then we started gaining kind of traction with the Filipino Americans.
Yeah.
And Filipino Americans are a little bit bigger, they're taller, they're 3 generations in
Right.
North America,
Right.
right? 4 even. Like they were there way longer ago.
Yeah.
So they're bigger people, actually.
Right.
Different diet, different everything, right? So then the Filipino Americans were like mediums,
Right.
larges, extra larges. So then the sizing that would sell out shifted from extra smalls to mediums, now to large and extra large. So now it's like I'm having to make more large and extra large than when I started.
But that's so cool to me that it can be, that you are, and that it's so inclusive. Like, that's very different than what is often available in other sustainable, other kind of independent outlets, right?
Yeah. And we actually expanded the size range a couple years ago. I kind of added another size and then expanded the size range, and and then that's also why we do custom, because not everybody can fit it into a standard size.
No.
Also, the standard sizing,
I knew that you wanted to go here. Okay, say it. I'm ready.
Standard size, there's no such thing as standard size. Okay? Every company makes up their own size. There is no standard. They tried to standardize sizing, and there's a whole history of craziness behind it because it was for the military during the war. And they were getting samplings of people, and it was all the people that were being paid for the day to be sized were all like poor white women. Okay, so then the sizing was limited to that range of people, and the heights and the widths were all kind of these poor white women.
Yeah.
And so like the rich white women were bigger because they ate more. So, and then it's like black women weren't considered into that.
Right.
And then other people of color weren't considered into that. So then when it's interesting because we get so much, it's like, do you have a size 6 or I am a size 6.
And you're like, what does that mean?
And I'm just like, what does that mean? What brand is that? Because a size 6 from Zara, from H&M, from like, American Apparel, like whatever, they all make up their own. We make up our own. I am the fit model.
Right.
So when I grade up my size, extra small to double XL, it's the same proportion as me.
Right.
But if you're taller, your waist is longer.
Yes.
Your booty's bigger, it's not gonna fit.
Right.
Right? And then it's like, I can't cater to all of the different bodies. So that's why half of my business is custom. And it's like, you have to think about waiting, because back in the 1800s, everybody's clothing was custom.
Right.
And that's why they had those really tight corseted dresses that fit them like a glove, because it was made just for them.
Right.
And we don't do that anymore. So the stretchy fabrics came in, spandex was invented, all that. I don't use a lot of stretchy stuff.
No.
So it's tailored. I make the cuts so that's why I have my tent. One of my most popular dresses is the tent dress.
Yeah.
So like I think about what I'm designing and how many body types will fit in it.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you think I should know?
I can't think of anything.
That's fine. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. And I remembered all my questions, you guys.
Yay. And you're gonna try some stuff on.
And I'm gonna try some stuff on.
Tell me what I'm wearing.
So this is a barong. So this is actually what the men's garment looks like, except not cropped. It's actually like,
Longer. Yeah.
And it's usually half open. And this is the shape of the embroidery.
Okay.
Right? It goes underneath the button placket.
Right.
And it's called pechera,
Pichera.
which means chest. I don't know in Spanish.
I mean,
So chest embroidery.
It makes sense.
We've made styles where it's fully open.
Yeah.
Because it's actually hard to get into.
This one was not hard to get into.
Because
it has all the signs.
This is my invention.
Ah.
I put that in because, people want the slim cut now.
Yes.
And the traditional barongs are like very boxy and wide. because you have to be able to pull into it. Like,
Right.
The embroidery is something that we also do in-house, which you can't find anywhere else. And we always have themes. So this one is the banana plant. So it has like the indigenous local monkey called machin. I don't know if that's like an official species name. But then the banana fiber also used to be made into cloth. So ship sails and things like that. So the Manila hemp, when you've heard of Manila hemp where they made ropes out of it, it's actually banana fiber. So that's the banana that's featured on this.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we also do our hand dyeing of the barong. So this is silk polyester blend, which is fairly traditional outside of the pineapple fiber. That was the super traditional stuff. And then I get my dyes from a hippie dye factory in San Francisco.
Very on brand for Caroline.
Yeah. And it's like non-toxic dyes, and they have beautiful colors, and it's really easy to use, and so that's what we do. So I get my custom colors that way.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and then I made this one crop for women. With
So
pearl buttons.
Okay, so what is this one?
You look beautiful.
Thank you. Look at my dramatic
floor length gown with a slit. Can you see the slit? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me, because this is like it's not just the architecture of this dress, it's also the pattern of this dress.
Yes, so this is our first in-house print that we've done.
Very cool.
And it's very exciting.
Yeah.
And I have an in-house artist. And for a long time, I've been trying to get him to do the sampaguita, which is a jasmine flower. It's the Philippine national flower, right? So, and he didn't want to do it for a long time because he's just like, it's so, who cares?
Right.
It's so, because he's from the Philippines.
So it's everywhere.
So it's like over there, it's like, oh, okay, sampaguita, whatever. Right? But for the diasporic Filipino, who's our customer, it's like they're hungry for this.
Yes.
They want it.
Yeah.
So it was just like this kind of back and forth. How are we going to do this print and how are we going to make it? You know, so there was a little bit of research done, and I just want to read to you because it's so deep.
Yes.
So the Filipino national flower was determined in 1930.
Okay.
And the flower's name is based on a Filipino phrase that says "sumpa kita." So it's a double entendre. It could mean it's a vow. I vow that, you know, I will marry you.
Yes.
Or it could be a curse. I curse you.
Right.
Sumpa kita. So not only does the sampaguita as a state emblem embody how the botanical can be imbued with political meaning, deployed and performed in conjunction with the codes of state rhetoric, the double entendre and the alleged origin of the flower's name also succinctly encapsulates the very nature and curse of colonialism, whose spirit still permeates our lands, bodies, and consciousness. And this print also features the wolf snake, which is an endemic species of snakes in the Philippines. So it's digitally painted and ominously patterned to symbolize our awakening and breaking the curse of colonial mentality.
That is so cool and so deep. And
it's
like
so deep. It's like, do fashion people do this? I don't know. It's like,
but
is it too deep?
No, because then you're like, oh, do you think this is just a pretty dress? It's actually not just a pretty dress. Like there's this whole other meaning that is so cool.
Yeah, that's why I love it. And it's actually beautiful.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, the print is beautiful. So pretty happy about that one.
Okay, tell me about this one that I love so much already.
So one of the most popular dress styles that I have is a tent dress. And it's essentially this silhouette. But the tent that I had started with is floor length.
Oh, okay.
And then I did a redux, which was ankle length with a slit.
Okay.
A thigh-high slit.
Yeah.
And this is the midi.
I love it, midi.
With a ruffle at the bottom. And then the original neckline was just like a low scoop, but then I made this one a deep V. So a little bit of like skin at the top, but then flowy and not body hugging at the bottom, so you have a balance. I like a balance.
Yeah. And still great sleeves.
And still the Filipiniana sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then it's like you can dress it up with heels, but you can also go out
And sandals
to
or
the
something.
grocery with some sneakers on.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like very versatile. Oh, you could belt it for a whole different look. I don't know.
Yeah, I love it. And it's very comfortable.
Yes.
Okay, before I let you go, please show everybody what you're wearing, because we've talked a lot about me.
Yes. So this is one of the things I was experimenting with. So it's like a silk robe. And we have the embroidery of a provincial toile, but it's Philippine provincial toile.
That's so cool.
Scene with the two dancers and the hut and the water buffalo and some ducks and the coconut tree.
And some ducks.
Yeah.
Can't forget the ducks.
Yeah, and then I repeated the coconut tree motif here. So yeah, it was just one of those things. It's cotton silk. And when I experiment, I just do like one of each size.
Right.
And it sold really well.
So it's a surprise.
We might bring it back. Yeah.
Okay. And what's next? Aside from bringing this back, what do you want to do this year?
I want to expand the menswear and really get out there and make more men, Filipino men, non-Filipino men, wear our offering, which is like, you know, the embroidered. It's kind of feminine if you think about it, but Christian Dior has been ripping off Filipino barongs since 2014. I have receipts. So, you know.
That's the next video.
That's the next video. But it's like, you know, lacy looks for men is actually very Filipino. So I expect more Filipinos out there. And non-Filipinos.
Everybody. Everyone needs to wear more Vinta.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having us
you.
over and for dressing me in like these super cool, beautiful dresses.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.